Space, the final frontier. This is the topic for tonight's podcast. It's 1.5 hour mission to talk about movies and shows set in space, to seek out a better understanding of why we love them, and to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. These are the voyages of the Geeks on Screen. How's it going, everybody? Woo!
I knew you were going to go with that intro.
Well, yeah, that was Wayne's idea. I'm taking credit for it. Actually, I'm not, just because I just publicly recorded that. It was Wayne's idea. So how's it going, everybody? I am Everett Harn. We are the Geeks on Screen, brought to you by Geeks with Wives. We are a movie and TV show podcast, and that's what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to just give a little intro to my brilliant co-host here. If you were at the Lexington Comic-Con, you may have seen him as the Arrow. He's back, Mr. Invictus Cosplay himself, Stephen Heron.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. The crowd went wild. It was fantastic. I was away from you guys. My life was less stressful. I didn't get made fun of as often. It was fantastic.
So it was boring, basically.
Basically, I cried a lot because I was alone.
You missed us.
The first thing I said was, "Did you guys miss me?" And they were like, "What? You were gone?" I've missed
you,
3
Steven.
podcasts, and nobody noticed.
Steven went into the bathroom and just started spanking himself, and he's like, "Tommy, stop!"
I didn't do that.
That's an image.
But I got
I never wanted in my head.
All right. Also joining me is the man that's wearing Thor's hammer around his neck, and if you mention 50 Shades of Grey, he will whip your ass. Tommy the Ox
because
Oxford.
he loves 50 Shades.
How's it going, Tommy?
It's going They sold whips at the convention. I almost got you one.
You're really gonna push your luck with this, aren't you, Steven? Really gonna push your luck.
Oh, shit.
No,
Bringing on
honestly,
Tommy
man,
too
it's going.
much.
It's
First
going.
he was the Gore Whore, and now he's the 50 Shades guy. We need to just choose one and stick with it.
Well,
I'm always the gore.
I already used the
That is
intro.
so forward.
I already used the intro of 50 Shades of Gore Horse, so can't mash those together anymore. All right, next up is my fellow European, my trailer cast buddy, and I'm pretty sure the Queen has knighted him because of his work on this podcast. So here's Sir Wayne Hughes of England. How's it going, Wayne?
One is very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Last but never least is the guy who's gravity falling for Steven's universe, and he knows more stuff than all of us. We got Tyler Pollock. How's it going, Tyler?
Hi.
Hey, I give you an intro.
You finally get a special intro, and all you can say is, "Ken."
Hi.
Well, I don't know how to respond to that.
Just wasn't expecting.
I didn't realize I had a universe.
No, not you. It's Steven with a V, not an H.
Owned.
A PH.
We'll learn more about
Thank you
next
very
week.
much.
The Gore.
You just popped Steven's bubble.
Which one? No, all right. So Wayne, do you want to tell everyone what this week's main topic is, if they can't already tell?
Well, yeah, if you can't already tell, this week's main topic is films and TV that are set in space.
Or as it says on YouTube, space. All right. So yeah, but first we're gonna jump into what we watched this week. So let's start with the new guys that are back in town. Tyler, what did you watch this week?
I didn't watch it this week. I watched it last week, but I watched Chappie, and it was very good.
Chappie.
Yeah, there are some things in that movie that I can't really talk about, but I'm going to tell this. If you go to it, there's a pretty much what it is. It's a rape scene.
I thought you were trying to beat around the bush.
To put it delicately.
Well, I was trying to think of a different word for it.
Wait, so does Chappie do the raping, or does the weird like
it
Mohawk
happens to him
people?
pretty much. It's not sexual, but it's framed very much as
There's a
as something
USB
that
port involved, and it's really
yeah, it just it just felt like that, and I think that was intentional. It pretty much, if you haven't seen the trailer, it's this robot that gains intelligence, and he starts off as any normal human would, intelligence-wise, as a child, and grows that way. So this happens when he effectively has the mind of a child.
Yeah.
So just want to let you guys know, and all our listeners know, that if you go, just be wary of that. Other than that, I watched Steven Universe. It was awesome, and Garnet is great and fantastic.
I liked
And I
the clip that you sent me. It was kind of
Yes.
like a bluesy, jazzy song, or was it more R&B? I can't really remember.
But the songs on that show are
It was one of
fantastic.
those.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I was leading up to. It was actually a pretty damn good song. I was like, man, if this is the stuff they're gonna like play for kids nowadays, like there's gonna be some kids that like different forms of music now that's not
that
techno
song
and
and the
dubstep.
meaning behind it is really, really good. We'll probably show it to you either this week or next week. And that was pretty much all I watched was Chappie and Steven Universe.
Yay, thanks, Tyler.
Yep.
What about Jupiter? Did you talk about Jupiter?
Oh yeah,
Jupiter.
but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, go into
We'll
that.
talk
later.
about that when we get to it. But
Yeah.
I have
Okay.
to watch that in my hiatus as well.
I thought
was
you'd
good.
at least watched it. So
Yeah.
okay, well good.
Well, how about you keep talking, Steven? Tell us what you watched this week, which looks like nothing.
Could
Yeah,
see the Flash.
I did watch The Flash today.
Wasn't that the best episode yet?
Yes. And after watching that episode, I wanted to cry, but I knew better. And if you haven't watched it, watch it. If you have watched it, watch it again. I'm in full Flash regalia, and it's hard because people are saying that Arrow is picking up pace and it's getting good, and I mean every episode it gets more intense and it's better, and that is what Flash was lacking, and it just didn't have those intense moments, and it didn't have that your bond with the characters. Like you feel like you know every character on the Arrow team, and you know you're best friends with them, and when something happens to one of them, you know you feel that.
Yeah,
After watching this Flash episode, they've done that, and you
They
didn't
put the
realize
feels.
they did that.
They put the feels in the Flash.
You know, Flash is a little bit more fun and a little bit funnier, I think.
It was It was lighter hearted until they brought
Yes.
in like Reverse Flash, like in the scenes.
Absolutely.
But
And
now it's
then-
gotten dark.
And now all of a sudden you go, holy crap, I care about these people, you know. And so it was a great episode. I like. I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Brad Beld, who was on the podcast last week, wrote a really good spoiler review of the episode that's on Geeks with Lives right now, and I had to edit in like a little note at the bottom just talking about how much I love the new weather wizard, because the like one that was in the very first episode, he was okay. That was just like the pilot, but this new
Right.
guy, like I felt like he was like a deadlier, more precise.
Oh yeah, I feel like he is a with the pilot they kind of put together a character they thought would work,
Yeah.
but now they've had time to figure out, okay, this is how we make him an effective villain through the series, one that could be used over and over, like Captain Cold and
Yeah.
characters like that. And from the beginning, they planned on having two, so they kind of knew what they were doing, having the younger brother, older brother scenario there. So I think they did a great job.
Yeah.
Other than that, I didn't really watch much. I was going to watch the new Cinderella last night, and some things came up. I didn't get to do that. So I don't know if I bit the bullet or not. I don't know. But like you guys said, I was at Lexington Comic-Con last weekend. Had a great time. Was dressed as an Arrow the whole time. Great response. Met some great people. And I will have a full write-up on that convention up on the site, hopefully before our next podcast. And we got special access for the cosplay contest. And I was right there on the stage and got to take pictures of every contestant that walked down the catwalk.
Everyone's butts. You just took pictures
Every
of everyone's
butt picture I could get. It was
Upskirts,
great.
you're just a giant perv.
I'm terrible.
Speaking of, let's move on to you, Wayne.
Thank you for that transition.
I'm just kidding.
Not gonna lie. Thought that was going my way.
I'm just kidding.
Oh man,
Wayne, what did you watch this week?
it's an absolute travesty that I have to work with you.
I agree.
Just
You
don't
guys
shut-
forgot how to treat me while I was gone.
Oh man.
That's all. We just shared the love, Stephen. That was all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just watched a couple of movies this week. I watched Lucy.
Oh, what'd you think of that? We've talked about it. We've
yeah.
talked about it a lot on this podcast. So,
I think, I don't know, I enjoyed it, but it had so much potential that they just seemed to lose the storyline halfway through.
yeah.
I mean-
it gets a little diluted, but it gets weird, but
Still enjoyable. I mean, that sort of
Yeah.
stuff really does appeal to me because I'm pretty weird and wacky as a standard. So,
CinemaSins just ripped that movie on their YouTube. They did
Yeah, I
everything
mean-
wrong with, and it was great.
I think if you look at the CGI and then you look at the way they wanted to do the story about how the human brain has so much unrealized potential, I think that was pretty awesome. But it just got stupid at points. But I think maybe a little bit more backstory. I normally moan about some movies going on for too long, but maybe that one could have been a bit longer just to explain some stuff a bit better.
Yeah.
Some of the parts I felt were rushed,
Yeah.
And then, like you said, the ending was like, okay.
Yeah,
You
she's
know.
there. She's not. I get it.
Right.
I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it too much, but I get where they were going with it. But I think maybe they could have explained it a little bit better, broke it down a little bit more for like the people who just don't understand that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My girlfriend had no clue what we were watching the whole time. She was like, "Isn't that Black Widow?" I was like, "I'm proud of you. Good."
No, that is a USB drive,
Yes,
honey.
it is. That is Black Widow. You're right. For all intensive purposes, yes. So my question is, Wayne, do you think that whenever we talked about it originally, I said, is it actually happening, or is this just what she's tripping out and seeing with her mind?
I'll tell you what.
Like, is she actually being dragged up the wall and on the ceiling, or is that just what her brain is telling her is happening?
Oh no, people were dying.
Yeah.
I agree, she killed people, but
Yeah.
people kill people on drugs all the time.
I don't think a bunch of Asian dudes would just stand there just because she's tripping out, like, especially if they're like blocking their boss.
Well,
they're not just gonna be like, "Ooh, it's ScarJo. Let's try and get her autograph."
I think that question though is a valid one, because if you think about the entire length of the movie, you could go either way.
Right.
So it's left open. That is probably the one thing that's making the movie watchable, because people are trying to think, is that really what's
Please.
happening? Is this reality? Is she just
Please,
completely
Wayne.
stoned out?
The only thing that makes that movie watchable is that ScarJo is just freaking gorgeous. All right,
Moving on.
what else did you watch?
Oh dear. I watched 22 Jump Street as well. Just completely different end of the scale on the genres. And I got to admit, I enjoyed it because it was just stupid funny. You didn't have to get too engrossed in the storyline. You just watched it, and they threw a few good puns in there. And
Yeah,
for anybody who like all the women out there, they've got Channing Tatum half naked again. So,
so that's why you watched it.
well, yeah.
You're like, nah, I'm a Jonah Hill guy.
And on that note,
yeah, in my head, I look like Channing Tatum. In reality, I look like Jonah Hill.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the God of Thunder himself, Tommy. What have you watched this week?
The only thing I've watched this week is I finally finished up season 2 of Vikings.
woo!
That is a good thing. I am proud of you.
I am proud of myself, but I don't know what to do with myself right now because now I.
That's nothing for we can talk about on his.
Oh, Wayne. Oh, dear Lord.
Well, Tommy's going full bore on the Viking stuff, like I said in the intro. He's out there. He's looking for a shield maiden. He's just
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. Well, but yeah.
He's gonna take that bookcase behind him and just start carving it into a canoe.
Yeah. I mean, I finally finished, and I don't want to go into too much detail because I know, Everett, you said you wanted to actually start watching it, but holy crap, season 2 like just pulled at the strings and
Yeah.
like I don't even know. Oh my god, so good.
How
though.
did you feel about Alexander Ludwig,
Ludwig.
the son?
First few, like when it first started and he first came back into the season, I was kind of meh. But near the end of the season, I kind of grew to like him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wouldn't say that I'm a fan of his character right now, but I'm hoping with season 3 he kind of steps up a little bit.
I'm really backed up on season 3. I have like 3 episodes in the DVR. I haven't watched yet, but of the 2 episodes I have watched, they are focusing on him a lot more. Also, just Lagatha, right? Like, she's awesome.
Oh, dude, she is a beast. She is probably one of my favorite characters in that entire show. Like,
Yeah.
that's one woman you don't want to fucking cross.
No.
Like, you will wind up with something missing or just dead.
Yeah. Yeah, she's fantastic.
That's Ragnar's like shield maiden wife, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she's gorgeous as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, she was badass. I've only seen the like first half of the first season. She was awesome in that.
Oh man, season 2, she kind of outshines Ragnar a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
But
And I can see the show getting better in season 2 just because, like, I feel like season 1 was probably like a test run.
yeah,
It was. It really was. History hasn't done anything like this.
Right.
So when they realized that, hey, this was successful, we can do more.
Yeah.
They,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, all right. So I guess moving on to me. Thank you guys. So I watched actually a ton of stuff. I watch way too much.
Show off.
Yeah, but
No, he just has no life.
I'm gonna go through a few new shows that I tried out. I tried out a few of them. I tried out a show called Banshee. Has anyone heard of that?
I've heard of it.
Maybe.
I've heard of it, but I've never.
It's about this ex-con who has old, what would you call them, partners or people that he knew back in the con days that he's
Loose ends.
loose ends that he is tracking down, and it leads him to like a small town in Amish country, and it's not completely Amish, it's just in Amish country, and he basically meets up with this man who's just arrived in the town who's going to become the town's new sheriff, and that sheriff ends up, spoilers for the first 5 minutes of the show, he ends up dying, and the whole premise of the show is this ex-con takes the sheriff's identity and becomes the sheriff of this town, and he's kind of like a rougher, like, he's an ex-con, so he doesn't really understand like how the law works, so instead of arresting people, he beats the living crap out of them, and it's interesting. It's kind of a lot of people are saying like the show kind of fills Dexter's void on Showtime for them, and I can see that. He's but yeah, it was pretty good. I also checked out Last Man on Earth.
I've watched the first episode of
Oh,
that.
man.
Maybe
I have not.
I
got to watch
I
it yet,
haven't
but I
watched
want
the
to.
wedding yet, but I've
Okay.
watched everything up to that.
Well, spoilers.
I've
Steve.
watched like
Well,
the second half of the
He married
first
the-
episode and the first half of the second episode. So
Well, I can
I
tell
mean-
you. I can tell you right now that show gets better with each episode, like way better. Like
Yeah.
the first episode, like it's literally about like Will Forte plays the last man on Earth that we all, as the audience, know of, and so he drives all over the U.S. with
every single state.
Yeah, with a camper, just like with a big megaphone on it saying, "Is anyone there? Is anyone there?" And he doesn't find anyone. So he goes to like Hugh Hefner's house and steals his robe. He goes to like
He goes everywhere.
he goes
He's got
he steals like
the
works
White
of
House
art.
rug,
Yeah, he's got the White House rug. Like he's just got everything. Like
Michael Jordan's jersey.
in a fun part of that show is like that's totally what I'd be doing. I'd be going.
I was
around,
just gonna.
like,
I was just gonna ask that question. What would you guys do if you
Yeah.
had the chance to do anything in
The
a
bowling
situation
ball
like that?
scene is probably exactly what I would do, but I do it with guns.
Yeah, he takes like a ton of different stuff and plays like bowling with it. Like he runs a
Yeah.
truck through like I don't know. It's a great show. I didn't want to talk about it too long because it's still pretty new and I don't want to spoiler it. But it's got a few other actors in it, and it's just got some fun twists. So check that out. Another thing I watched that was brand new this week was iZombie.
I see.
that
I didn't
looks
watch
good.
the pilot for that.
It was so good. It was so good. Like it's another DC show and it comes on right after The Flash.
Yeah, that's why I missed it.
And it doesn't take place in the same universe that I know of. I don't think it is.
But
Even though
aren't they
it's-
going to do a comic series?
I
I thought I just saw
this is
probably.
based off a comic series, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's DC.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
DC series. So
Probably all in the same universe.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't really work in the superhero universe. But it's basically she goes to a party and gets scratched by a zombie. Like zombies are an actual thing in this world. Like people were doing drugs and it turned them into like zombies. And she barely survives, whereas everyone else at the party gets killed. So she basically becomes like a zombie. And she was she was a doctor before she became a zombie, and now that she's a zombie, she works at the morgue. And she has to eat brains to kind of keep her humanity. Like the less she has brains, the more into an actual zombie she starts to turn.
But the catch, though, with the eating the brains,
Yeah.
she gets memories of what happened
dead.
to the people, so it helps her solve what happened. It reminded me a lot of Pushing Daisies.
Yeah,
The
well, yeah.
premise
I
of
mean,
that,
she doesn't just get like murder clues. Like she just gets straight up memories and feelings from these people, and yeah, it leads to some interesting happenings. There's some pretty interesting side characters in that as well. So yeah, check that out. It's right after The Flash. The last thing I want to talk about, I just added because I watched it like 8 hours ago, was a movie called About Time. It's a British film. Has anyone seen that?
About time.
No.
It had old Domhnall Hall Gleeson and Rachel McAdams in it, and it looked like kind of a rom-com based on the cover and based on what I knew, and so I was just, my fiance loves rom-coms, so I was just like, let's watch this. It actually turned out to be really cool. Like it's kind of a love story, not just with a woman, but between a son and his dad. And the premise of the movie is that all the males in this particular family's lineage has the ability to time travel. All they have to do is go into like a dark room, clench their fists, and think about where they would like to go, and they'll appear there. And they can actually, like, it's got the whole butterfly effect and everything. Like, they can actually change what happens. And so at the start of the movie, he uses his power to basically get the girl. Like, he he meets a girl on a blind date, and everything goes fantastic, and you're like, okay, well, what's going to happen? Well, one of his friends, like, goes completely horrible because an actor forgets his lines, and so he has to go back in time and miss the blind date with the girl to help his friends, like, to go and, like, teach the actors their lines so that the play goes well, and then he has to try and get the girl. It's really cool, but it ends up being just a really touching movie about a son and his dad, and it was actually fantastic. I really recommend it. It's got some great scenery down in Cornwall, I think. Looks really nice there, so yeah. So let's move on. We're going to do something a little bit different this week. We're going to do the main topic now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna hand over the reins to old Wayne the Brit. To old Britty Butt.
That's it. Bash the Brit down.
So go for it, Wayne.
Hashtag blame the Brit.
Cheers, Tommy. No, so as we have said, this week's topic is movies and TV shows set in space. So what we're going to do is talk about some of the most popular movies, the most popular TV shows. We'll do a little bit of Q&A in the middle as well, and see what everybody sort of wants to get involved in. So if we start on some of the movies, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm down.
Yep, so I'll have a look what we got. So Apollo 13 is one that's been mentioned. So does anybody want to chime in on what they think about that?
Good. It's a good movie. Good Tom Hanks movie.
Yep.
So I'm assuming everybody's seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, for me, that movie, it's more like a suspense movie.
Yeah, it had some, like, it's kind of like the scientific kind of,
Edge of your seat, kind of what's going to happen.
well, at the end, like at the start, it was kind of, just your typical space, like going in the space movie and doing the mission. Yeah, and then it turns like crazy suspenseful. That was like a movie that I think I watched in school back when I was maybe in high school or maybe even earlier, so like that.
Well, that's it. Just keep rubbing in the fact that you're so much younger than me.
Well, it could have been high school. It could have been my last year in high school, Wayne. Jeez.
Oh, I'm going to pick on you about it.
And he repeated high school a lot.
Yeah, he's just emphasising the fact it was high school.
I just graduated high school. I'm 27.
No, I mean, for me, that was a massive top.
28.
I think the cast on that sort of made it. You had Tom Hanks, you had Gary Sinise, Kevin Bacon.
The old Baconator. Yeah.
The Bacon.
Lieutenant Dan was in it, right?
Yep, that was Gary Sinise's character.
Oh, okay. I just know him as Lieutenant Dan. You ain't got no legs.
No, but it was really good, and it because it was something that really happened. It made you sort of like drawed you in. So I gotta admit, I enjoyed that one. But we will move on because there's a lot to talk about. So I think we'll go a bit more up to date now. So has anybody seen Interstellar?
I have.
I have not.
No. Well, we won't do too much of a spoiler then for the so we don't spoil it for Tyler. So I think
I have no desire to see that movie at all.
Really?
Really?
It is
Nah.
it is a long film. I've got to admit, when we sat down to watch it, and you're talking 3 hours that you need to put aside for it. So
Yeah. It's
don't-
long and it's a lot of Matthew McConaughey.
yeah,
So,
That's why I don't want to watch it.
All right.
oh, thanks, Brad.
that's pretty.
That's the only part of the podcast I saw.
That is pretty much what it's like all the way through. But the basic gist of it, and you can tell this from the trailers and any sort of spoilers that you read on it. It takes place on this planet where it's kind of dying. The human race can't survive.
Yeah,
So-
which is a very common
Thing.
topic. And
Yeah, but I mean, the way they try and touch upon it is something that could genuinely happen if nothing's.
definitely.
I mean, they do that in most of the disaster films, that they try and involve a sense of realism, so that you can associate with it, which is something we've spoken about before. Being able to associate with the film, associate with characters.
Yeah.
And Matthew McConaughey plays like, he used to work for NASA,
Yeah.
and then
Of course.
obviously, yeah. and he goes from working from NASA to working on like a cornfield. So it's not much of a change. And
I worked for NASA. Now I work in a cornfield.
Call
And
me.
it is a good. It basically he's called upon to try and save the human race. Obviously,
Because that's just what you do. You get
Yeah.
guys in cornfields.
Well,
it's
that movie
Alternative
has
fuel source.
the one thing I will say about that movie. It does a great job at it. Like it's even though it's hyper realistic, I would say like Neil deGrasse Tyson might be like, Psh, you're crazy, but like even though it's hyper realistic, they try and keep that going even through like the other planets that they visit. Like there's just some really cool planets in that movie. Like they get to a planet that's all like it's nothing but water, but the water's all like shin height, they're knee height water. And they see like these big mountains in the distance, and while they're exploring this planet, they realize that the mountains are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're like, oh crap, those aren't mountains, it's a tidal wave. And there's like this tidal wave that just goes around the planet constantly. And
and the also good thing about that is the tidal wave is moving really slow.
yeah, well, yeah, because when they get there, they thought it was just distant mountains, so they were like, well, all right, let's just explore a little. And then there's like one planet that was like jagged ice on the bottom, and then there's jagged ice like coming from like the ceiling or like from the sky as well, which was crazy. So they had some really cool like just kind of fantastical elements in that film.
But one of the other best things about our film, and I think we mentioned it, was Tars.
Yeah.
And for anybody who hasn't, obviously for people who haven't seen it, it's not going to spoil this. Tars is basically
a robot.
And he's pretty awesome as a robot.
He looks like a vending machine, but he can move very fast. It's crazy. But one thing I was talking about last night, Wayne, if I could butt in just for a second,
indeed.
That I was watching Lost in Space, the newer movie with Christ, it had Gary Oldman and William Hurt and
Mimi Rogers, Matt
Lacey Chabert. And I was after seeing Interstellar and then watching Lost in Space again, which I love, which Matt LeBlanc. Lost in Space is kind of the same exact story. Like it starts out as the same exact story, right? You got the dying planet.
Yeah.
You've got a man who is charged with saving the entire planet by going out into space and finding other habitable planets. But instead, unlike Matthew McConaughey, William Hurt chooses to take his family on this one. And so, Lost in Space is the Robinson family. And they have a robot. And basically, like, it's the exact same premise. And so I was just like, man, this...
Danger.
Yeah, it's just like Interstellar, like, was basically ripping this movie and, like, this premise off at first.
Yeah, like Lost in Space is more action-based, action-adventure, whereas Interstellar's more dramatic.
And Interstellar's more realistic science, whereas, But it's just crazy that back when Lost in Space was made, which I would guess is like 2000 or maybe even earlier, and they're talking about like our recycling technology, it will help us for 20 more years, but then the Earth won't be able to sustain habitable life. The fossil fuels are running out. And I was thinking, man, this really like still resonates today.
Yeah. I mean, you're saying it resonates today, it's probably getting worse.
Yeah.
In 10 years, that'll be us. We need to find another planet.
Why didn't you guys watch Lost in Space and realize? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so yeah, you can continue. It's just funny how like those two movies were.
No, they are very similar. I wouldn't. If you've got 3 hours that you want to kill, it's not a bad film to watch. You can enjoy it if you can get past Matthew McConaughey droning on and on and on. But it's not a bad film, so I'd recommend it.
It's got cool twists in it. I got the end spoiled for me, but it was really cool.
I hate it when people do that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was a person that did it. You didn't accidentally walk in on the end of the movie.
No, it was a person that spoiled the end for me. But
did you shoot him?
No, but even knowing the end, like it was still cool to see. And it's hard to spoil because it's very confusing, but it was cool. So it's got some cool twists, so I'd check that out.
Yeah, definitely that'd be my recommendation as well. Right, so moving on. Let's move on to something that maybe.
Well, I just checked the list real quick. Sorry to interrupt. And
No, you
we're
carry on.
missing a very pivotal movie that was set in space.
Please
Kind
feel
of.
free. No, feel free to
I
speak up.
can't believe we missed it. Muppets in space.
Oh my
That-
god.
How did we miss that? Really? Muppets?
Well, some of us aren't the age of 7 anymore, Stephen.
Hey,
Well,
hey,
telling
hey, hey! No.
Tommy
Right.
is.
Now, we've done exactly what I wanted. We've got a bit of a friction now. Come on, T, what you got to say?
I mean, Steven's got a point. I mean, it was a space movie, and
Absolutely.
that was my childhood. That was my childhood.
Well, tell you what then, if it was your childhood, you can take the floor on this one. Go on, have a little talk about it. You and Stephen can have a little bit of a rant about it.
Steven, I haven't seen it in years, so hopefully you remember more about it than I do. I just remember it was basic. I remember it was basically Gonzo trying to get home, or
He's trying to find out who. Yeah, it's your same story that we've always had. There's a one-of-a-kind person who doesn't fit in, and he tries to find out where he's from and where he belongs, and that's what it is. And it's just like a lot of different movies like that. But Muppets movie, and it was set in space, and Muppets in space.
Hence the title of the film.
How can you not include that in such a
Well,
great podcast like
I'm
ours?
sorry that I have like 30 films here and I didn't include Muppets
You know what?
in Space and
You included
Zathura,
Jason
Steven.
X.
Zathura.
And
I included Jason X for Tommy. Tommy's a Jason fan. I wanted to hear his opinion on that.
Well, I was going to mention that one. I was going to bring the other. I was going to bring Tommy and T.
I will give you my opinion on Jason X right now.
It's
Go
shit.
for it.
It was complete and utter shit.
Yeah. Oh, I knew you were going to say that.
It was just horrible. We didn't need it. Made no sense. And just
Should we leave it at that?
Jason had
I'll tell
The
you
only
what,
thing I can remember about that movie that stands out to me is I don't remember exactly when, but it's after, like, I guess Jason gets, woken up, unfrozen, whatever the fuck happens, I don't remember. But he, like, freezes the one chick's head, like, in ice or some sort of solution, and then just smashes it into, like, pieces. That's the only thing in that movie that sticks out to me. The only thing.
Oh, that's fair enough then. Well, besides the actual movies themselves that we've got, we can ask a few things about films and TV programs in general. I mean, if I go and ask Tyler, let's say, what's your favourite sort of film? Have you got a favourite film or a favourite TV program?
That's set in space.
Yes.
I mean, for movies, I think I would have to say Star Wars.
Solid choice.
I mean, it was the first, major movie series I watched, along with it being in space. So it has that sort of, resonance with me. Also, just everything else, the stuff that's going on with Marvel right now, all the books that are coming out, and all that stuff. And yeah, Star Wars has to be one of my favorite space movies. As for space TV shows, I haven't really seen that many.
Rebels, Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have to be
Rebels.
like feature; it can be animation as well.
Well, Steven Universe is set in space and sometimes, but I don't want to, just be that guy. I'm trying to think of anything else.
It counts. I mean,
You're the cartoon king, Tyler.
Tyler,
That's
if
just,
you want to be that guy.
I don't want to be. I want to be that.
Well, no, let's make you be that guy. So
Yeah, you are the specialist.
Steven Universe, like, how do they represent space
Okay.
and like that stuff?
Okay.
Like,
now I'm just getting
He's
into
So-
been waiting on this.
Warming the hands up.
There are these creatures called gems, and they came to our Earth and set up shop here from space to fight from fighting in a war, an interstellar war. So they pretty much sort of colonized our world, kind of, sort of, and then
Okay.
these sort of rebel renegade gems came in and stopped them, and they're now protectors of our Earth. And one of the most recent episodes, the one that I showed you the clip from,
Yeah, that looked like it was in a spaceship of some
yeah,
sort.
it was a giant hand.
Giant. Oh, right. Yeah, I remember. Okay.
Yeah, it was a giant hand. So pretty much these homeworld gems came to Earth to try and take back the gems from our Earth, because they're pretty much were being like kind of charged for crimes, I think.
Okay. So does a lot of the show take place on Earth?
Some of it does. They sometimes teleport to different either places on Earth or different worlds. I can't really tell. They aren't
Well,
specific.
What
with this-
network is this on?
Cartoon Network.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out if it's live action, cartoon.
Tyler's
Yeah,
the
I mean,
cartoon
it's
king,
got-
man.
Right. I just hey. I'm
would you
asking.
say though? I mean, obviously being on Cartoon Network, what would you say is the age group because that it's aimed at? Because a lot of
Honestly,
ones you
I would say all ages. It is something for everyone.
Just like Phineas
No,
and
I'm
Ferb.
being
Tyler, yeah.
Phineas
What's what-
Ferb is
no, carry on, Tyler.
it really does have something for everyone. There's a character that I really think Tommy would like. There's a character I think Steven would like. There's Garnet is one of the best characters ever. She's
Well, I
great.
think-
And another,
I was going to say, I think it's really good when you can find an animation that can draw in every audience and every age group, because I don't think that an animation should be specifically aimed at one age group. I think everybody should be able to enjoy them, because it doesn't matter how old you are, and this is speaking from the old guy, it's really cool just to be able to sit down. And if I can sit down with my kids and watch something like that, then it's fantastic, because it does help you to bond as well. So it brings families together.
It really does draw you in. It's made primarily for a kid audience, but they do manage to get things in there that is pretty heavy and deep and kind of dark.
Well, I think we're all pretty much big kids at heart anyway, so I don't think there's any harm in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Also,
Yeah, carry on, man.
one of the things I think is really interesting, there's no real bearing on the show, but the gems themselves, they have no gender, but they can sort of shape shift and fuse together to create more powerful, stronger gems.
Okay.
No,
And when I say they're
it sounds really interesting, to be fair.
Yeah, it really is. They don't really go into the gem powers and homeworld stuff in like the first few episodes. It's all really just introduction stuff. When they get past that, that's when they go into, who the gems are, what they are, why they're here, what the homeworld is like, and just all the different stuff. And they got a lot of awesome voice actors. Like Nicki Minaj was one of the guest stars on it, and she was fantastic.
Well, I suppose that's a pretty big star. I mean, it might not be my choice of star, but So no, that does sound pretty cool though.
But it's just to kind of switch the subject a little bit. Like, it's interesting that, like, I personally can't think of a lot of non-animes that are set in space. Like, there's a lot of animes. There's Futurama, of course. But then you have Cowboy Bebop. Mm-hmm. You've got, like, Gundam Wing, and Transformers was in space for some of it.
There's Space
Jetsons.
Yeah, Robotech, Voltron, like a lot of
Jetsons.
Well, Jetsons was technically on Earth, but they
Power
went into
Rangers
space
in
some.
space?
Power Rangers in space. Like, a lot of the space stuff... Well, Power Rangers isn't a cartoon, but a lot of, like, the space
Close
cartoons are all from Japan.
Don't start him, Everett.
Yeah. Aquatar. All right.
Space Ghost.
Space Ghost, yeah. That was set in
Oh, the
space.
guy who played Space Ghost died recently.
Okay, what were you saying, Everett?
Thanks for the downer, Steven.
Yeah.
No, I was just talking about like how
Giving
there's not a lot of cartoons nowadays from like the West that are set in space.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
cool.
well, like I said, they're really vague about, like they teleport different places. They can do that. They're kind of vague about where it is in that universe, but
Yeah.
there are a few space episodes. So I mean, and the gems are from another planet. So I mean,
That's cool then.
yeah.
So, I mean, for me, I think a big part of any sort of, if you're going to have something set in space, is what you're in space on. I mean, if I mention one of my favourites, for example, I was a really big Star Trek fan when I was younger. So for me, it was things like the Enterprise. That was like the epitome.
Yeah.
And you start looking at other spacecraft and things like that.
Yeah.
I think so. What you're actually doing in space, how you're getting around, is also a big part, 'cause that can make you feel like you're at home.
Yeah, with the Enterprise, I never really understood until just recently that the only part on the Enterprise that people can actually live on is the disk, and the rest of it's just like engine, right?
Yeah,
Engine
Yeah.
and frame.
Yeah, like it's just that's such a big ship, but like the only part that people can actually be on is like I don't know. I always thought that ship was really strange, like just the way it's shaped until I realized that.
you can only walk around the disk part.
Yeah,
Well, that's it. I mean, that's what makes it different. I mean, I think every ship was unique. Every craft was unique.
Yeah.
But
I
they
mean-
all had to be. You know,
Well-
they couldn't. You couldn't have, anything from Star Wars look like anything from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Everybody
I-
had to have their own take on your space vehicle.
Oh, yeah,
I
definitely.
honestly
Police box for crying out loud. you
like
know,
I
that
honestly
travels through
think
time.
my favorite ship, if I had to pick one, I don't know if it ever had a name because I'm drawing a blank right now, but was Fireflies.
oh yeah, that's the Serenity.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a firefight. It was firefight class,
Yeah,
wasn't it? The actual ship itself.
right.
I mean, I've
Yeah.
just started watching Firefly again. I've just decided to. I watched Serenity the other day, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna watch Firefly again, just for the sake of it. And you look at the cast; I'm so young.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
yeah.
were.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah,
But
well,
yeah,
That was one of my favorites because it's
What do you guys like when it comes to spaceships? Would you rather kind of have like a junker looking ship that's kind of got jagged edges, or would you like kind of like Queen Amidala's ship that was like almost like Mercury, like a just like a smooth round ship? Like
me
like
personally,
yeah.
I'll say, go on, Tommy.
I would honestly say Junker, personally,
Yeah.
because like if you're in space, like I know me, like if I was in space, I'd be doing the same shit Firefly was. I'd be stealing shit. I'd be I'd be doing dirty deals with people. Like I'd be making money, and I don't want a ship. Like I'm gonna be floating around. It's gonna be
I
like
gotta roll up in a limousine.
I want, yeah. You
Yeah,
want a
like,
ship
I
that
don't-
you got to beat up. You got to smash it with a hammer. You got to hit it with a crowbar,
Well,
just
I
to
know-
get it working.
I know when episode 1 came out that a lot of people were complaining about how like they're using the CGI to make the ships like super sleek and like really nice. Like even the Jedi cruisers were, pretty sleek things.
Right.
Yeah,
And I think even like the freaking Trade Federation ships, I mean, they were pretty
Right.
sleek. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
like people were just like, this doesn't look anything like the ships from the original Star Wars.
well, that's
And
it. Yeah.
and I think JJ's bringing it back to kind of the beaten down, kind of jagged
Oh yeah.
ships.
I mean, we
Well, that's
saw
'cause
what
I think you
he's
need
done
to
with the
symbolize-
Falcon. And
Yeah.
he's made some upgrades, but he's keeping the overall.
yeah.
What was you going to say then? Yeah. So what were you going to say then, Tyler?
I think that choice was made to symbolize that it was a very different time.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
No,
I mean, even the canon timeline from Revenge to A New Hope is like 20 years, but I mean, still, 20 years can be a long time, especially when Empire is just messing everything up. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah,
A lot can
and,
change in 20 years.
Because,
you know?
like,
Oh, yeah.
in Lost in Space, when they go up in the space, they're in, like, what looks like the original Lost in Space ship from the old show.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's called Jupiter 1, and it's kind of this old junker-looking UFO, like, disc. And then when they get in the space, it breaks apart, and they reveal, like, the little sleek, rounded, like, almost like capsule, like, Jupiter 2, and they're like, Jupiter 2 is on the way, and, like, they're like, you know, they tried to make it, like, this huge reveal that, like, they've upgraded, like, how the ship looks, and I was just like, you know, they didn't necessarily have to do that. They could have went with the old one, but given it, like, a just slightly different look. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I used to watch the original Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nothing better for me. I always wanted to be able to fly one of those fighters, and they're exactly the same looking. They really, they got sharp edges. They look beat up. They don't look very sleek or like they can even fly through space, but they are just awesome.
They look fast.
Well, that's it. Yeah, you just flick a little switch and you're flying off for like twice the speed.
The Cylon ships are awesome as well. I really like those. They kind of look like they're kind of the same model as the what the hell, Worf. The from Star Trek.
Klingon.
Klingons. They kind of look like the Klingon ships as well. They kind of have like the wings that are kind of, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about.
I know where you're coming from with that. I mean, you can see a lot of similarities between the ships, but they're just little tweaks on them, try and make them unique. But it works.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if
I think.
Go on, Steve.
Go ahead.
No, you go. Carry on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you know, as far as what kind of ship and everything that I think is ideal, I really like what James Gunn did on Guardians. You know, two of my favorite even though Everett hates them, but the Nova's ships, they were very cool.
Do not
start
him on that.
They were
Novas
cool.
don't have ships.
The Novas weren't up to par. I will agree, but it was cool. But like the Guardians, what is the name? What is
Milano.
it? The Milano. That's what I would have.
That's kind of a mix between the sleek and jagged.
Exactly. It's
junkers.
like,
we need
on
a
the
whole
paint
other,
job, it could be.
We need a whole other
junker.
podcast to talk about this with Everett though, because you'll go into such a mode. You'll never shut him up.
Fuck
But
those
I think the
He'll be
coolest
pulling out
thing
what
about
hair
the
he's got
Milano was the fact that, you know, he had integrated the Earth technology into the alien ship. You know, like
just
the
a cassette player. Come
but
on, that's
still,
all.
that's awesome. I would have that in my spaceship.
Well, when it comes to space films, I mean, there's loads of different genres. You've got the likes of Interstellar, which are a dramatic one. They try and draw you into the storyline. You got Everett's current favourite, which you can't stop talking about, which is Lost in Space, which is action adventure and things like that.
Yeah.
So, what sort of film genre, what sort of program genre draws you in? What do you want to see in
When I
a
see
film with space?
like I know me when I see or when I watch a space or like any movie set in space, TV show, whatever. Like I know for me, it'll honestly come as no surprise. I either want to be
Sexual.
you know, like. Wait.
50
Shades of Space.
No one can hear you scream.
Hit me with the laser whip again. Yeah.
I'm gonna hurt you guys.
See, you love
Go for
us. You love us for what we are. We're true to ourselves. We're true to you. Go on, you go on, buddy. You talk.
Like I know for me, it's either got to be suspense or horror, like in space, because like I don't know what it is about those two, like in space, but they freak me the hell out.
Well, honestly, yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, the reason that is because space is still so strange to us. Like, unless you're an astronaut, you haven't been to space. And it's kind of like a mysterious world up there, and there's so much shit that can go wrong up there. Like a small, tiny pebble could go through your like suit and just straight up kill you.
Well, I think,
or there's so many bad things that can happen up there.
Yeah, have you seen Gravity?
Yeah.
Has everybody seen Gravity? Yeah.
Right. Gravity's a perfect example of how like they don't really have to make up a story to make it suspenseful or scary.
Don't worry, Stephen.
Yeah.
We're about to spoil it.
Like Apollo 13 is based on a true story,
Right.
and it's suspenseful as shit. And they didn't really have to do anything. They just made it kind of like fancy looking, like it.
Well, that's it. I mean, that was the good thing about I enjoyed about Gravity, the fact that it was something that genuinely happened. They didn't try and do too much in it. They just left it nice and simple. Let the story play out, and that drew you in. And on top of that, it wasn't 3 hours long. That was also an awesome bonus.
Yeah.
So,
well,
okay.
another thing I was wondering about, which I haven't actually looked up, but I'm just completely blanking.
Okay.
Is there a romance movie or a rom-com set in space?
Ooh.
I couldn't think of one. Like, I was like, why don't we just have like a straight-up rom-com set in space?
Well, I say that they.
Well, I mean,
I
you
wouldn't
have,
exactly
you have
call that
Star
a rom-com,
Wars.
Stephen.
I mean,
You've just put one of my favourite space films into the rom-com category.
Well, I mean, like, Star Wars had its love component, but I wouldn't call it a rom-com, you know? So it's like, Spaceball's kind of the same, like...
Well, maybe that's something else we can
besides a ton of porn, like, what is there a romance movie set in space? I can't think of one. Like, this is an untapped market here.
Well, that's it. Maybe I mean, you can say that a lot of the films touch upon romance, but they don't actually have one that's full-on romance. I mean, is that something that... Is that something that
something we need?
Yeah. Is it something that all the studios have been missing? Have they completely missed out a niche to try and draw in another
Jupiter
audience?
Ascending has romance.
Yeah, but it's not. But you wouldn't call it a rom-com. Like that's the thing. It has to be so much of a romance film that you would call it a romance film or a rom-com.
Yeah.
Like not like an action movie.
You could argue Armageddon's it has a rom-com in it.
Yeah,
I mean, but
I still wouldn't. I still wouldn't call it a rom-com. That's just what I was wondering. Like, I personally enjoy action films in space, but
Wally's as close as it gets.
Wally, no, but yeah, but I also really enjoy the comedies. Like I was trying to think of the comedies. You know, you got Guardians of the Galaxy. You got.
We just mentioned Spaceball.
Yeah, right. Spaceballs, and also Mystery Science Theater 3000 was all set in space.
Yeah. I mean, I like Galaxy Quest. I was a fan of Galaxy Quest.
I love Galaxy Quest. I think it's highly underrated, and I love that there's a comic series now. And all the cast from Galaxy Quest, as far as I know, are like, we would love to do a second movie, but I doubt that'll ever happen.
And how long ago was the original Galaxy Quest? I mean,
I can't remember.
Yeah, it's a fair while. I mean, you're talking...
I think it was 1999?
Maybe. We just watched it on Netflix.
It
was 1999. It's still an awesome film. It's still an awesome film, but it would be cool to see another one.
It was the year of Steven's birth, 1999.
Right, well, we'll move. Rather than keep bashing each other with hammers and space debris, we'll move on a little bit. So, what do you like to see in a space film? Does it have to be realistic? We'll talk like the likes of you got the potential of Gravity, Apollo 13. Does it have to flow like that, or can it just be completely far out there, absolutely make no sense whatsoever, completely, go into the realms of science fiction? So I think let's go with Stephen first on that one.
Oh man. I like new things. I like to try new things, and I think when it comes to movies, like Everett was saying, space, there's so much potential for anything. It's so vast that, you could say anything's out there, and it could be. And so instead of having your cookie cutter space movie, I like to see different things. So I would like for space movies to be something more original and more along the lines of science fiction. I love watching Doctor Who. It's one of my favorite things. Just the places they go, the things they visit. That whole series is one of my favorite, and there's not really anything like it in my opinion. It is its own thing. and like I love how they've done that.
Wait, you don't think the Daleks are realistic? Come on.
No, I'm saying they're science fiction. That
I mean, they've already got Jibo. That's basically a Dalek.
right. As soon as you add a plunger and a whisk, it could kill people.
Yep.
Well, I think that's the thing. It's science fiction. You're looking for something to stir your imagination. When you think of anything to do with space, you don't want it.
Yeah.
You want to be taken out of your normal existence, if I can say it like that. You want to be drawn into a storyline.
I think for me, though, like, I think I need a little bit of both. Like, Interstellar had a perfect mix of realism and fantasy. But, like, whenever you have a movie that tries to be realistic in space, like Gravity, you always have, like, I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. Cosmos is one of the greatest shows, like, that was that's ever been on Fox. But he always comes out and he's like, so in this scene of the movie, I was looking at the star system. That's not a real star system. Or these stars wouldn't be here at this time of the year on Earth. Or, you know, like, he's always the one to come out and, like, point out, like, how it's not actually realistic. And I'm like, damn it, Neil deGrasse Tyson, just let it be.
None of us uneducated people know that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, not all as clever as Everett over there.
Yeah.
Right.
But anybody else? So, Tyler, I think you've mentioned the fact that you've seen Jupiter Ascending recently. So why don't you have a little talk about that, and you can bring them.
Stephen,
Yes.
Jupiter Ascending is very original.
Okay.
Very.
See, my only
There
problem with
are
Jupiter
words.
Ascending, though, is that what's his name? Channing Tatum looks like Will Ferrell from Zoolander, Mugatu. He reminds me.
He's actually part wolf.
Oh, see,
Which explains.
So
Mugatu.
there's a
So
lot
secret-
of really there's a lot of concepts in that movie that I honestly would like to see more explored. There's a dynasty of there's a dynasty of extremely powerful siblings that I'm trying to explain it. It's hard. It's really.
I think we get what you're trying to say. You're basically trying to say, Stephen, shut up, you monk.
Well, no, I get what you're saying. There isn't that much original. What were you saying, Tommy?
No, never mind. I was just gonna kind of touch. I was gonna kind of touch on what Wayne said, but I'm just gonna let it go.
Well,
No,
I just, before we move on, shut up,
Yeah.
Steven.
What I was saying, though, it's
Damn
like,
it.
you know, the super realistic stuff, I don't have to have. I know what a spaceship looks like. I've seen NASA's spaceship. We've all seen those kind of movies.
So you
I
wanna
want to
see
see
something
something
different.
original, different, something like that.
But when you talk
So-
about original and
Jupiter
different,
Ascending would fit what I would
Yeah,
like.
it's. I'm saying this honestly. It's
Right.
It's something completely unlike I've seen before. I'm gonna say that honestly and without sarcasm. It's
a completely original concept. Parts.
It's like when you were like 13 and maybe writing stories and you made that character that just like everything happened to all the time. That's what that movie is. It has so much love and effort put into it. It's fantastic.
Something you just mentioned does lead on to the aliens in films, and the fact that in that one you say that Channing Tatum is like half wolf, or as Stephen keeps saying, half Mugatu. And but for an alien in a film, I mean, do you think it's hard to actually come up with a new concept for either a completely new species or a development on the human species, or
They're always humanoid.
Right.
I especially now with technology where it is, I would like to see less humanoid aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in some films like Prometheus, they use a humanoid-based alien, but that was because they were trying to lead you into they're actually part of our existence.
Yeah.
That we came from them. But do you think that's overdone in films? Do they need to come up with a completely original type of alien that doesn't look anything like us?
No, I think that if this goes back to like way when science fiction was first being written, space stuff was, we're always going to think of life on different planets, if there is life, which there probably is, looking like us.
Yeah, we can't
And
really
yeah,
we can't really come away from anything being different than we know ourselves.
And
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is the fact that your original stuff that we all grew up with in space, they didn't have the CGI like we had, and they had all the special effects makeups, and it's all built off of a human face. And so you
Yeah,
have
exactly.
those structures built into things when they weren't necessarily meant to be. But the jawline is in a particular place. You
How-
know, this.
But how
So-
about a film like Aliens?
Well, I was going to mention the xenomorphs because even the even the xenomorphs are quite humanoid. They have two
Yeah.
legs, two arms. They have a
they
mouth.
have a head.
They have a head that has the swivels. You know, they got toes. They got two mouths actually. But I think because they don't have eyes and because they're slightly different from us, that's what makes them freaking scary.
Right.
I've got to admit, the Xenomorph, they absolutely freaked me out the first time I ever saw
Even
them. I mean,
today.
those things gave me
Yeah.
nightmares when
Like
I was
they're
younger.
scarier than Predator for sure because
Oh,
Predator's basically a human with a mask and
Yeah.
dreads.
Right.
Yeah, I think we get to the more
He's a new
inhuman
NFL player.
stuff. I think we get to if we get to more human stuff, we just
Yeah.
can see more if we just try and take it away from making more humanoid-ish.
Yeah.
stuff.
Because like even like movies like Signs, they went with like the straight up gray aliens with
Yeah, the Roswell
big black
Greys, yeah.
eyes. Yeah, so it
Yeah.
like it. I feel like for us it'd be hard to have a movie where like it's a blob that just straight up eats people. Like you have the Blob coming out, but I mean I'm talking about just like weird.
Rather than have an actual humanoid or
Right.
any actual life form, you could just have an entity that's
Or like
completely
an
different
energy
developments.
cloud, or people wouldn't find that as
Because you don't
relatable.
connect with it.
right.
Relatable.
When
it's not
something has a
relatable.
humanoid feature or anything that you can see and it looks like something
Yeah.
you recognize, you connect with it whether you like it or not. So you're right. I
Yeah.
think it would be harder for people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think it would be really nice if we could find some sort of. I don't know the best way to word it. We could do with somebody to just go outside the box and then just grab a completely new concept and say, let's try this. It doesn't look anything like us, but that's the point.
I
Yeah.
think what it comes down to with that is a lot of times is they're scared to take that chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
But-
that's a major thing. Movie studios don't want you to. They want to try and draw people in. They don't want to go that far out.
But I think you had the film Guardians of the Galaxy do that. They pushed the envelope of what kind of characters they could have, what they could look like. I mean, if you look at the art that they came up with for each and every character, I don't even know how many different alien type characters they created for it, but it was astounding to see. Yeah, there were some that did look more human than others, but then there's some that just were crazy looking, and
Yeah.
I think they definitely, as far as recent movies, have pushed the envelope.
Well, I think the thing as well, it's with the title of the film Guardians of the Galaxy, it would be very hard just to have one style
Yeah.
Right.
of
True.
alien. They had no choice. They had to mix it up.
Well, just before we wrap up, I wanted to go back to Cosmos, the Carl Sagan and Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like, have you guys watched that?
No,
I've seen it.
either of them.
I've
Like-
seen the Neil deGrasse Tyson every episode. I
Man,
loved it.
that's like if you get that movie or that show on Blu-ray.
Oh,
Like it's like Planet Earth. Like the way they did that show, like they did it as realistic as scientifically possible. And it's Neil deGrasse Tyson, like Carl Sagan used to say, we're going to take the ship of the imagination to this planet. And back then the graphics weren't that that incredible. But when Neil deGrasse Tyson in his show says we're taking the ship of imagination, they have a literal ship, and it's like the little like Mercurius silver, like weird, like it's almost like a teardrop shaped ship that they take, and he flies through the universe, and he actually like lands on planets and walks around on them while he's explaining how this planet would look. And
Awesome.
it's just incredible to see like what our greatest minds think space looks like,
Right.
based on everything they know. And that stuff, like,
Well, the thing is as well, what we know about
Yeah.
space is just increasing all the time. We learn more and more and more. So surely then original concepts should start coming out now.
yeah. And I think there's, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Tommy, this might be a Stephen Hawking miniseries, but I feel like I watched an episode where like they said if life existed, it could be like this, and they showed kind of like weird alien creatures. And that probably wasn't Cosmos. That was probably Stephen Hawking's Universum or whatever it was called.
I'm not sure, but I do know what you're talking about.
Yes. So they've
They've
done, and those that's
touched
like
on it lightly, but they really haven't kind of just.
yeah.
Well, the
gone
thing
straight
is as well,
to-
I mean, we could go on and on about this subject for so long because there's
Yeah.
such an infinite number of storylines, characters, ships that we can just talk about forever.
Yeah, and we haven't even touched on it, and it's the reason why I kept saying these are movies in space, not like on another planet, like, because that we could talk about those movies for like a whole show, which we're gonna do eventually.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah.
So yeah, for everyone that's like just saying, talk about Dune or talk about this movie or that movie, or this show, like, we're just trying to focus on
We're trying to bring you actual things that are in space. Not you can.
Yeah.
The actual bulk of it is on spaceships. It involves aliens. That we're not onto a different planet because that's a whole new show altogether.
Yeah.
Right.
So on that note, I'm going to pass you over to Michael Everett Hahn because I've done my best, guys. So let's
You
move on
did
to the news.
fantastic.
You did good. So yeah, we're gonna move on to the news. We didn't get a whole lot of news set up for the show, so we're not gonna cover everything. And whoever wrote these in here can jump in. We got. I just wrote this in here myself. Insurgent got really shit reviews. Who's surprised by that?
I'm not surprised at all.
Well, we even spoke about this. It wasn't good at all.
No.
It was just too plain. I mean, it might be that if you're a fan of the series, go watch it because I might just read the book.
Yeah, and Avengers got another TV spot. I didn't see it.
Yeah,
Was there anything
it
like
was-
super new?
They showed some different action sequences I don't think we've really seen. It basically highlighted each character real briefly and showed their names. Like, for example, Black Widow, we got to see her in her new suit with her new batons. We got to see each one, and it ultimately led up to Ultron and a shot of him, and it was just really cool.
No Vision?
No.
Okay, I didn't know if they would.
No, I don't
I think they
they're
might be
going to
teasing us
talk
with that.
about-
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think
they're-
we're going to have a trailer with him
Yeah.
other than just him opening his eyes.
Okay.
So
They've done that purposely just to tease you and say, well, we're not going to show you any more of this. You're going to have to come and watch the damn film.
right.
Yeah.
And they know people will.
Oh, yeah.
But that was the new spot. It's not very long, but it was really good.
Well, Tyler, you mentioned that the comic books, Chrononauts, Descender, and Descender are option for a movie.
Yeah, they are. They were picked up even before the comic went out. So, these companies must know something we don't. Descender the art in it, it's laid out very cinematically. It could easily translate over to something. I haven't read Chrononauts yet. I'm waiting for that in trade. But it's a Mark Millar movie, and, he's got Kingsman, he's got Kick-Ass.
Yeah.
And Universal have took that up, haven't they?
Yeah.
So that's you're talking an epic sort of like group there. It's got a good base there. So
yeah, he's been the things that they've done based on his work have been good. So if they're going to do something, might as well do it now with this new thing.
We've got a review for Chrononauts by Enrique up on the site, so check that out if you want to know what that movie might be about. It's an Image comic.
Yeah, both Descender and Chrononauts are.
There's another Brothers Grimm series being scripted.
Yeah, that was me who's put that up. I just briefly noticed it. It's going to be based on the film, but I don't know.
But wasn't that Matt Damon? Was he in that?
Matt Damon and Heath Ledger.
Yeah, Matt Damon, Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger, right? Okay.
Yeah, but the thing is,
Heath Ledger returning for that?
I was thinking.
One of the ghosts.
The thing is, you've got Grimm, you've got Once Upon a Time. Surely they don't have to touch upon it anymore.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm a little confused by that. Okay, well,
be interesting.
So something that was before Steven's time is Fraggle Rock is getting a movie that's going to have Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it.
Yeah,
I'm so excited about that.
What did you call it?
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
What did you call it?
Fraggle Rock, man.
Fraggle?
Yeah, it's
Fraggle Rock.
You wrote fragile.
Fragile Rock.
Okay.
I didn't write that.
Well, I mean,
somebody did.
That's Wayne. That's
me.
That's the British English spelling of Fraggle. Okay.
Look, it's early here. Shut up.
And I didn't add any news, so I don't.
That's the reason. That's
So,
the reason.
Should we talk about the plot that is rumored for Civil War?
No.
I haven't seen any of this.
I don't want
think
it. The only thing I heard was Spidey's supposed to be 14, right?
He's supposed to be 14,
15. I like that.
Yeah.
I think a younger Spider-Man will be awesome to have.
Yeah, well, what they're trying to do in that one, they're trying to build up the one about the relationship between Captain America and Iron Man. So, but I think everybody knew that, so I don't know why they're trying to tease it as such a big thing.
Yeah.
Or the people who don't know, or the people. There's a lot of people that aren't like us.
Yeah, that's true. I've never read Civil War, but when I found out that was going to be a movie, I found out what Civil War was about. I found out what the comics were about. I think a lot of people probably are doing that or will do that or have done it. All right. Be interesting.
Lionsgate is developing Robin Hood Origins, which I'm excited about, but I'm also skeptical because I want a good Robin Hood movie for once.
You don't want them in tights.
No, and I don't want
Men in
Russell
Tights
Crowe.
was great.
That was what I was hinting at. I love that film.
Like Russell Crowe, that wasn't Robin Hood. They should have just named. They should have just made that just a straight up medieval war movie instead of trying to use his origins. But I want a good Robin Hood movie.
Well, there's also I think Sony doing one as well, which is nothing related to this. So we could end up being flooded with Robin Hood shows. And
we got news about the Bad Batch. What is that?
Oh, that was just something that I read, and it's a project, and it involves Keanu Reeves and Jim Carrey. Okay. They're not leaking too much, and then Jason Momoa's in it as well. They're not leaking too much about the plot. They're just yeah, I mean that's a massive cast. And it's also a variety of cast because Keanu Reeves not associated with comedy. Jim Carrey's not associated that much with actions. So them blending
Bill
all
and
different
Ted
characters.
is a classic.
Hey, right, but that was a different time.
Yeah, that was a different Keanu.
Yeah. Whoa.
Right.
All right. Well, let's.
The last thing I want to say, I didn't add it on here, but we talked about it recently. I think today or maybe yesterday. Jim Parsons has said that he would like to play the Riddler in either a TV or movie.
That would definitely work.
I think he is would be a believable Riddler. And people have said, oh, Neil Patrick Harris would be a good. I don't think. I think Jim Parsons would blow
Yeah.
He would be the Riddler that everyone would remember, hands down.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with NPH, man, because
Yeah, I like him.
if you've
I
seen Gone
like
Girl,
Well,
have you-
I'll get what Steven's saying
if
about
you've seen
Jim
the
Parsons more of the
Yeah.
intellect, and he
Yeah.
fits the way the Riddler's done. I think it should be done.
Yeah.
I
Who is Jim
love Neil
Parsons?
Patrick Harris. I think.
Sheldon.
Sheldon.
Goofy,
Big
yeah.
Bang Theory.
Big Bang.
Yeah, he could give you like a goofy yet cold kind of
okay.
feel to the Riddler.
Right.
But Neil Patrick Harris, if you've seen Gone Girl, he can be really creepy.
That's true.
He's really creepy in that. But yeah, I would say Jim Parsons would be my top pick for that. Like
Yeah, every time you
Yeah.
think of Neil Patrick Harris, I always go to How I Met Your Mother.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, Jim Parsons doesn't have red hair, and I don't think they could pull it. He could pull it off, but they could give him maybe like Steven's color hair, and it would work. Like just kind of like a light brown or something, and it would still work for a Riddler. I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if people would
Right.
be like, he doesn't have red hair. You know, it's I don't know.
I don't
Well,
think
I'm
that would
familiar
matter
with the
as
original
much.
Riddler, and he didn't have red hair.
Oh, didn't he? Okay. Well, he could just wear the hat.
Jim
you
Carrey
know.
did.
Just wear the
Jim
bowler hat with the question mark on it. You know, that's all he's got to do.
But-
That'd be great.
The thing that made me think of Jim Parsons was the fact that he's going to be in a space-related movie coming out soon, Home. It's an animated movie. Steve Martin, Jim Parsons, Rihanna, Jennifer Lopez. That's some of the cast. Animated movie. It's going to be a fun movie, I think. I'm excited to see it.
Okay.
So that kind of fits in with our topic and something that just be on the lookout if you got kids or you enjoy fun family-related movies. That'll be an interesting one.
Oh, also, and Copycat's going to be in Deadpool. That's who Marina Bassarin's playing, by the way. So yeah, let's just move on to our final thoughts. This is the part of the podcast where we're just going to plug our shit and then just talk about anything we want. We've got maybe a minute each to just kind of just talk about whatever. We'll go to you, Tommy.
I don't really have much to, talk about.
All right, moving on. I did that to you last week again.
Yeah.
Asshole.
Go for it, dude.
50
No,
Shades of Tea.
Steven, I'm gonna hurt you.
I know. It's coming.
Yeah.
I will find you, Steven.
Everett told you I only see things when I hunt to kill. So if you want, I've got the horror book that I'm still planning to review as soon as I can get at least more than one day in a row off from work.
Yeah.
Because I've had that thing sitting on my ebook for I don't know how long, and I just haven't been able to really get into it.
Hey man, I worked at Walmart once. Just go into the bathroom and read it for 3 hours. That's what I used to do when I worked there.
Not that he's condoning that, people. Just
Those
that's
places,
just his choice.
those places are so big they don't know where you are.
Bull crap. Never mind. Other than that, I really don't have much other planned. I've started giving Dragon Age Inquisitions more of a chance, and
Cool.
depending on how deep I get into it and how much I actually truly enjoy it, I may do a little bit of a write-up on it, and
Hopefully some gameplay
Right, the
stuff,
bull.
maybe. Whenever you get your computer.
yes, well, speaking of gameplay stuff, I know me and Everett talked about it briefly the other night. As soon as I can get this computer built, I'm not buying one, I'm actually building one because I'm able to build a better computer for $100 cheaper. Me and Everett kind of tossed around the idea of doing a Minecraft series for Geeks with Wives.
Nice.
Hmm.
I would join you
That's-
guys for that.
That's something to look forward to as soon as I can get this computer built. And once I get this computer built, I'll be putting out more content than I know what to do with. Just right now, I'm kind of limited on what I'm able to do without my laptop blowing up.
All right, and before Steven can say it, T, where can we find you on Twitter?
At It's Simply T.
Fitty Shades of Tea. Fitty. FIDDYOS. Fitty. Fitty Shades. That's
It's-
his new Twitter.
At It's Simply TTEE.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Fitty
T.
Shades.
Don't believe what the guy who wears, spandex for a living tells you, because he's full of it.
All right, Tyler.
Okay, no. Real quick, Steven, one question. Why do you flex when you do that? You're a twig. You got nothing.
Because I look good when I do it.
Okay, I'm done. Just had to ask.
Tyler, what's your final thoughts?
I haven't really done much on the site. I posted one thing about Secret Wars, the one thing I'm really excited for.
Yeah.
Angela is fantastic, and she'll be in Secret Wars, and I'm happy about that. My Twitter is at Tyler Knows Stuff.
Yes.
You will probably find things that might offend you or not, depending on who you are.
I just want to say the first 3 or 4 episodes of this show, we had to not plug your Twitter because you didn't have one, and now you're on Twitter causing a ruckus. So we created a monster. Yes.
Yeah, and
Believe me, if you
Tyler.
were on my Tumblr, it'd be so much worse.
I want to mention it real quickly for on Tyler because I know Everett made a remark about it a few days ago. Somebody's getting into the adult Yu-Gi-Oh, huh, Tyler? The Magic cards.
Yeah. Make that sound so much dirtier than it actually is.
Adult Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm drawing
am.
my sex card.
I am. I'm getting into Magic the Gathering. I'm doing a thing with that.
Expensive road, but you should do a write-up on that. I'm sure the games people would love to.
That would be cool to hear.
God, I don't know what I would even say.
Like my intro into Magic. Explain, but and you're also going to write a review next week about the Ghost Rider, all new Ghost Rider, right?
It's ending, and I'm really sad.
Oh, there's so many comics ending right now. Cyclops just ended.
I mean, the good thing about that is that you can just pick it up in trade since it didn't cross over with anything. That's what Kit's doing. That's how I convinced him to do it. And I am ruining his life, and I feel great about it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing else really.
All right. Well, let's move to you, Steven. What's your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are I am going to be finishing up the piece about Lexington Comic-Con, talking about the costume contest, what I thought about it. It's very interesting to see a contest on that level and that scale that it was, and the fact that there were cash prizes for first, second, and third place, and it was a lot of money. And then to know and see all the costumes that walked across the stage, and then see who won, I was very surprised.
Someone dressed up as Colonel Sanders and won, didn't they?
There was
Kentucky.
There was a Colonel Sanders costume there.
I knew it.
Colonel Sanders Samurai versus Burger King.
Colonel Sanders with a red cape. You would win
Warrior.
all the Kentucky cosplay contests.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm going to be writing that up. We will be doing more gameplay stuff, Everett and I, very soon. My schedule has been out of whack, and it's coming back into...
Out of whack, and it's coming back.
Hey?
Just know, Everett.
And that is the start and end of Everett's musical career.
He is wearing a red headband, man. He looks like a 90s white rapper.
I thought it looked like the chick in the workout video, or whatever her name was. I can't think of her name, but it was the 80s chick.
Olivia Newton-John.
Oh man, now I'm imagining Steven in like warmers and leg warmers and
I'm wearing warmers right now.
You can't actually see, but he's probably got bright green spandex on somewhere underneath all that.
Well, all right. Well, where can we find you on Twitter, Steven?
You can find me at Invictus Cosplay, Twitter, Facebook, all those great places. The thing I will be recording and hopefully posting Monday on the Geeks with Wise YouTube channel will be the covert Loot Crate unboxing. Hopefully I'll have it Monday If
fun.
I get lucky, it'll be here Sunday. I don't know, but I hear that it's really good. I try and not spoil it for myself, and then post a video immediately and spoil it for anyone that wants to watch. So that'll happen. We're getting better weather where I'm at, so I will actually be able to do the cosplay tips and tricks videos again. I've been waiting on weather to warm up so I could actually paint stuff. So that'll be next. Other than that, that's all I got. And thank you guys for letting me come back after I've been away.
Yeah. Before
We
T
had no
kills
choice.
you, we have to kind of fit you in.
Right, well, and I'll
All
probably
right.
be gone the next 2 weeks. So
All right. Well, look forward to that, everyone. All right. So, moving on. Last but not least, you got Wayne. Wayne, what's your final thoughts?
I'm going to try and do a couple more articles just short pieces based on what I'm watching now. So I'm thinking maybe programs like The 100, which I'm really into at the moment, and I'll do a short piece on that.
Yeah, which we didn't talk about tonight, but is kind of a space show, right?
Yeah, it does start in space, but I think
Starts there. Okay.
yeah, predominantly it's on Earth, so I think it could fit in with like some of the other things we were talking about. So I didn't want to go into that one too much.
All right.
I'm going to try, and I do say try, and do a little bit more gameplay, but I just finding the time to do it. I think my kids let me on my own computer. That would be awesome. But I can't see that happening anytime soon, so I'll have to just sit here and let her play her Marvel stuff because she's got the Infinity.
Oh man, you need to get her on Marvel Heroes.
yes.
I'll try, but
Yeah.
I ain't arguing with my 10-year-old. If you want to argue with my 10-year-old, you feel free. She'd beat me up.
All right. And where can we find you on Twitter?
I'm at Wayne Hughes BFG, so just hit me up on there if you want to moan about me, talk about my stupid British accent or anything. Just
Yep.
get me there.
All right.
Hashtag
blame the
blame the
Blame
Brit.
the Brit.
Blame the Brit. Yeah. So you can find me at Everett Gets It. I did a Cyclops number 11 comic review. I think there's going to be a few more. Next week there's going to be a lot of comics that I want to review. Whether I get to them or not is a different thing. You can find my playthroughs all over the YouTube. You can find me and Wayne on our trailer minicasts that hashtag kiss my butt. Yeah, me and Wayne watched the Pixels trailer, which we didn't talk about tonight. We watched the big one, or the big game with Samuel Jackson,
Which was one of the better ones, yeah.
We watched the original Dune. That was something that one of our Twitter followers wanted us to watch. And if you want us to watch a trailer, just you can find us at Geeks on Screen. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just check out geekswithwives.com. Check out our iTunes. We've got the video games, Press Any Key video game podcast going up there. It's a brand new cast with Mikhail and his Press Any Key crew that just got merged in the Geeks with Wives. Fantastic video game podcast. We've also got the Capes podcast, which is our comics podcast, which you can check out on YouTube and on iTunes.
Congratulate Will real quick. He
Yeah.
just got engaged.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Will hasn't been on
Congrats.
the Capes podcast in 2 weeks. That's because he was planning a big engagement to his now fiance. So congratulations to Will Elzato. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. Just check out our stuff, like and subscribe on YouTube. And we appreciate you for watching. So thanks for my co-hosts Stephen, Wayne, Tommy, Tyler, and myself. We will see you guys next time.
In space.
On iTunes and Stitcher. Also, check out geekswithwives.com for all the latest news on video games, comics, movies, cosplay, and more.